Hello, I'm Robin Henning, and welcome to another Exchange Life Nugget of Truth. Why do we struggle with surrendering our will to God's will unconditionally? Well, it's usually pretty simple. It's because we believe lies against the character of God. Satan strategically lies to us about God. He did it to Eve in the garden. He said, "Did God really say?" Or, "You're not going to die." He's still lying to us about God today. Personally, as a teen, I grew up in a legalistic church that presented the Christian walk as a systematic following of a list of do's and don'ts. And as long as you followed that list, then you wouldn't get zapped by God. I feared God's lightning bolts. So outwardly, I toed the line, but inwardly, I struggled. I believed that if I surrendered my life to Him, He would make me miserable because I deserved to be miserable because I wasn't performing perfectly. That really translated to, I'd be single, eating bugs, living in the Amazon. Now, anybody who knows me knows that my idea of roughing it is the Ramada. Jungle living and we don't get along too well. But I figured I deserved to be miserable and that God would cause that to be the case if I surrendered. And so what happened was I became a miserable, critical, judgmental person. But I still tried to keep that list of do's and don'ts. When I was 21, I was so miserable that I finally fell on my knees before God. And I said, "You either show me how this Christian thing works or I quit." That's when God, who had been patiently waiting for me, began to teach me the exchange life. I was presented with a prayer called the Selfer's Prayer, which is available in the Way of the Cross workbook on our website. That's a tough prayer to pray. It talks about surrendering unconditionally all our rights and expectations to God. I wrestled with that prayer for 3 days. It took me that long to own it. And God and I made a covenant, and He's been holding me to it ever since. And honestly, the only regret I've ever had about praying that prayer is that I didn't pray it sooner. He has not made me miserable. He has led me to the abundant life, the freedom of grace, freedom from that list of do's and don'ts, freedom to understand that it's actually the grace of God that teaches me to say no to things that are going to hurt me, as opposed to a list. It's been a beautiful journey ever since. I haven't performed perfectly, but His grace has been sufficient regardless. So I encourage you to ask the Lord, ask the Holy Spirit to search your heart, to show you any lies that you're believing against the character of God. And then ask the Holy Spirit to speak His truth to those lies, and you will find that they will crumble and lose their power over you. I hope this encourages you, and I hope you have a blessed day in Jesus.